You know, I have a letter sitting in the top drawer of my bedside table. I have kept it there for 23 years, and every morning when I open that drawer to get my reading glasses, I see it, just sitting there, and I smile. Not because the letter makes me happy exactly, but because the letter was wrong. It is a letter from my specialist, written when I was 68 years old, and it says, very carefully, very professionally, very kindly, that given my diagnoses, my current health trajectory, and my age, I should not expect to see my 75th birthday. I am 91 years old, and this morning I walked 2 miles before breakfast. And I want to tell you exactly what happened between that letter and this morning. Because it wasn't a miracle. It wasn't luck. It wasn't genetics. It was a list. A simple handwritten list I made on the night I read that letter, sitting at my kitchen table, alone, with a cup of tea going cold beside me. And that list changed everything. My name is Helen. I'm 91 years old. And at 68, I was a mess. There is really no gentler way to say it. Type 2 diabetes, high blood pressure, early stage heart disease, 3 diagnoses, 3 separate doctors, 3 separate sets of medications. And I was not taking any of it seriously enough. I knew I should eat better. I knew I should move more. I knew the smoking. Yes, I was still smoking at 68, I know. I knew it had to stop. But you know how it is. You know what you should do, and you just don't do it. You tell yourself tomorrow, next week, after the holidays, when things settle down, and things never settle down. And tomorrow becomes next year, and next year becomes a letter in a drawer telling you that you are running out of tomorrows. I had been overweight for 20 years. I moved as little as possible. My diet was, not good. Not terrible, but not good. Convenience food mostly, whatever was easiest. And I lived alone. My husband Gerald had passed 6 years before. My daughter lived 3 hours away, my son even further. And the loneliness had its own weight, separate from the medical weight, but connected to it in ways I didn't fully understand until later. I was 68 years old, and I was quietly giving up. Not dramatically, not consciously, just slowly, gradually, the way a fire goes out when you stop feeding it. The letter arrived on a Thursday. I remember that specifically. Thursday, late afternoon. My specialist had sent it as a follow-up to our last appointment. He was a thorough, careful man, the kind of doctor who documented everything. And I read it once, and then I read it again, and then I put it on the kitchen table, and I made a cup of tea, and I sat down, and I looked at it. Should not expect to see her 75th birthday. I was 68. That gave me 7 years. 7 years if I continued as I was. And something happened in me when I really understood that. Not panic, not tears, not the dramatic response you might expect. Something quieter than that. Something that I can only describe as clarity. Like You know that moment when you're in a foggy room and someone opens a window? That's what it felt like. The fog lifted, and I could see exactly where I was standing, and I could see that I had a choice. I could fold the letter and put it away and continue exactly as I was, or I could do something. And I got up and I found a notepad and I sat back down at the kitchen table and I wrote a list. The list had 4 things on it, just 4. I want to be very clear about this because I think people expect the answer to be complicated. They expect a long program, a strict regime, 17 steps. It was 4 things. Number 1, stop smoking. Today. Not tomorrow, today. I had tried before, many times, failed every time. But I wrote it on the list anyway. Because the letter had changed something, the letter had made the cost of the habit completely visible in a way that 20 years of trying hadn't managed. Number 2, walk to the end of the street and back every morning before breakfast. Not a gym, not a program, not anything complicated, just the end of the street and back. That was all I wrote. Number 3, eat 1 real meal a day, 1 meal made from actual food, not from a packet, not from a drive-through, 1 real meal, whatever I could manage. And number 4, and this is the one that surprises people most when I tell them, call 1 person every day, not for any particular reason, just call someone, talk to someone, be connected to another human being every single day without exception. Because I had started to understand something about what the loneliness was doing to me, how it was sitting alongside the diabetes and the blood pressure and the heart disease and making everything harder, heavier, more hopeless feeling. And I thought, I cannot fix the medical things immediately. That will take time. But I can fix the loneliness today, right now. I can pick up the phone. So that's what the list said, 4 things. And I pinned it to the refrigerator, and I went to bed. And the next morning I started. The first thing I did the very next morning was not smoke, which sounds simple, and it was not simple. It was one of the hardest things I have ever done. But every time I wanted a cigarette, I read the letter. Should not expect to see her 75th birthday. And the craving passed. The walk to the end of the street and back took 11 minutes on the first morning. 11 minutes. And my knees hurt and I was out of breath and I felt slightly ridiculous in my coat and slippers on the empty morning street. But I went. And I went the next morning and the morning after that. And by the 3rd week, the knees hurt less. By the 2nd month, I had reached the park at the end of the road. By 6 months, I was walking 40 minutes every morning, without missing a single one. The 1 real meal a day started as scrambled eggs and vegetables because that was the only thing I could make reliably. Scrambled eggs. Every day for about 3 weeks. And then I got curious. and I started cooking other things, simple things, real food that I made myself. And something unexpected happened. I started enjoying it. I started looking forward to it. The cooking became a thing I did for myself, a kind of daily act of caring for myself that I had stopped doing so long ago I had forgotten what it felt like. And the phone calls. The phone calls changed everything in a way I hadn't predicted. I called my daughter every morning. I called old friends I hadn't spoken to in years. I called my neighbor Margaret, who was 82 and mostly housebound and hadn't spoken to anyone properly in days. And those calls, those ordinary every morning phone calls, they became the thread that connected me back to the world. And the world, you know, the world started to feel worth staying in. At the 1-year checkup, my doctor looked at my results and he was quiet for a long time. And then he said, "Helen, what have you done?" And I said, "I made a list." My blood sugar levels had come down significantly. Not to normal, not yet, but the trend was unmistakably in the right direction. My blood pressure had dropped. He reduced one of my medications. My heart disease markers, these were the ones that surprised even him. Improvement. Measurable, genuine improvement. I had lost 22 pounds. Without dieting, without counting anything, just from stopping smoking and walking every morning and eating real food once a day. And the thing he commented on most wasn't any of the numbers. It was how I looked. He said, "Helen, you look completely different. You look like someone who has decided to be here." And that was exactly right. That was the most accurate thing anyone said to me during that whole period. I had decided to be here. And the body, this extraordinary, resilient thing we live inside, had responded to that decision with everything it had. I am 91 years old. I have been medication-free for 11 years. Not because I stopped taking medication carelessly, I want to be very clear about that, but because over years of consistent change, my body no longer needed it. My doctors supervised every step of that process. I walked 2 miles every morning, not fast, but every single morning, rain or shine, hot or cold. I cook all my own meals, simple food, real food, made with my own hands. And I call someone every day, still, every single day. My daughter, my grandchildren, my neighbor Margaret is gone now. She passed at 87, but I found new people to call. There are always people who need someone to call them. And I still have the letter in the top drawer. I read it sometimes, not with bitterness, but with something that I think is the deepest kind of gratitude, because that letter gave me something that nothing else could have given me at 68 years old. It gave me clarity. It showed me exactly where I was standing, and that clarity, that specific, terrible clarity, was the beginning of everything. So, what do I want you to understand from all of this? I am 91 years old. I was told I would not see 75. I want to share 3 things, just 3, the ones that matter most. When I read that letter, I did not join a program. I did not hire a trainer. I did not buy supplements or equipment or books about health transformation. I found a notepad. I sat at my kitchen table and I wrote 4 honest things that I knew, I genuinely knew, were standing between me and a longer life. Not things I had read about, not things someone told me. Things I knew were true about my own life. Your list will be different from mine, but you have a list. You know what's on it. You have always known. The question is not what is on the list. The question is whether you are willing to write it down and look at it honestly. Because the moment you write it down and look at it, it becomes real. And real things can be changed. Unwritten things cannot. Nobody told me to put the phone calls on my health list. It seemed almost embarrassing to include it alongside the diabetes and the heart disease, like it wasn't serious enough. But it was the single most powerful thing I did. The connection to other people, the daily morning calls, the voices of people who were glad to hear from me, gave me a reason to do all the other things. The walk was something I did so I could tell my daughter about it. The cooking was something I did so I could share the recipe with my neighbor. The not smoking was something I did because I had people who needed me to still be here. Loneliness does not just make you sad, it makes you sick. And it makes every other illness harder to fight. Put it on the list. Treat it like the medical condition it is. Call someone. Today. You know, my specialist retired about 10 years ago. He sent me a card when he retired, and in the card he wrote, "Helen, in 30 years of practice, you are the patient I think about most. You taught me something I should have always known. The body follows the decision, not the other way around." And I keep that card in the drawer too, right next to the letter. The letter that said I should not expect to see 75, and the card from the man who wrote it. I am 91 years old, and this morning I walked 2 miles before breakfast, and I called my daughter, and I made scrambled eggs. I still make scrambled eggs sometimes. Some things you just keep. I don't know how much time I have left. None of us do. But, I know this. Every morning that I open that bedside drawer and see that letter, I am grateful for it. Because it told me the truth at 68 when I needed the truth most. And I decided what to do with it. That decision, that one quiet Thursday evening decision at a kitchen table with a cup of cold tea. That is what got me here. And you have that same decision available to you right now, today, whatever your letter is, whatever is telling you that time is shorter than you think. Listen to it, find a notepad, sit down, and write the list. The body follows the decision, not the other way around.